Hi everyone, welcome back. This is another Rainbow's Play video. Today was the final episode of the Rise of the Shield Hero series. The final episode came out on the 26th of the 6th, 2019. Watched it on Crunchyroll, and I understood that it was coming to the end, and I've read a few articles on from interviews from the original author of the series. Just double check his name. Aniko Usagi, I believe it is, if that's how it's pronounced. So he did a Reddit AMA basically saying that more than likely the show will, or there will be a second season of the anime, because apparently a lot of the Japanese executives and marketing, how they decide whether or not an anime will go ahead or progress further, is based on normally like Blu-ray, DVDs, VHS sales, and other kind of marketable stuff in Japan. But they've recently changed their stance on it to go from, like, which they should have been doing for years, but like based on the views they get, which makes the most sense, because like if you get more clicks and more subscriptions to platforms such as Crunchyroll, Verve, I think it's Verve, the V one that has Crunchyroll in their subscription platform, Funimation, and whatever ones are available in Japan, China, and all the other countries. I'm only aware of the ones in Europe and USA, as that's where I'm based. But yeah, they announced that basically they're going to be updating their systems, and that since Rise of Shield Hero has been one of the most popular animes on Crunchyroll for its view time from like January 19th to present, it's been on like the top 3 streamed shows like worldwide, essentially across Crunchyroll and all the other streaming platforms. So it's doing really well for itself. It's gotten rave reviews, and they were saying that since it's been doing so well, more than likely it'll get an extended season, and since there's so much content that they don't have to worry about like backdating or allowing the original content to just build up momentum to eventually animate that from there. I'm not sure what the story is with the manga. I'm not too versed with that, but I know there's about 20 light novel books, so I believe from the beginning of season 1 to the end is up to about part way through book 5, or the entirety of book 5, which is a lot of material. Each book is about a little over 300 pages in around. I think this one's about 350, 348, and then there's some pictures at the end and stuff. Well, there's pictures in between, but it's actually not that it's not that much when you think it's 350 pages, but realistically the text is quite large, so it's maybe like, I would guess, times 14, 15 maybe, rather than like the standard 11 or 12. If I can show you guys here, like in comparison, the book size is, my hand for reference, that's the length of my hand, so that's not a good scale because you don't know how big my hands are. I'll just put up this phone for example. So a P20 Pro, Huawei P20 Pro, so that kind of scale. So I think this is about, I want to say 6 inches, 5 and a bit. So you can kind of get that scale from it, how big the book is, and then the length of the text based off it. Ooh, if you can see it there. So it's not overly small, as it's quite large in comparison to most standard books, but it's about 350, and it's spaced quite large. So say it's like a 1.5 spacing between paragraphs. So it's hard to, so it reads pretty quick. I've read through the first couple chapters of the book, and it reads really well, which is great, because I was afraid it was going to be like a direct Japanese translation into English, where it's going to be like Naofumi sama and all these I can't remember what they're called in Japanese, but we're like basically showing the respectful terms like sir and stuff, like all that kind of crap. Well, I know it's not really crap, but it's normal Japanese way they talk. So like calling your teacher sir, ma'am, whatever. And it's this kind of similar situation in Japan, but more based on gender and their relationship to you. So how it goes, like sama and stuff, and san and the Nissan and all that other stuff. I'm not too well versed in it, so don't take my credit, or my, what do you call it? Don't take my word for it, like how I'm probably just butchering this now, but Yeah, so basically, for the original author was saying that to guarantee a second season is basically just stream it on legal platforms. I know there's sites out there that you can stream on. Some are okay, some are usually pretty bad because they're usually littered with malware. Like, for example, Kiss Anime, kissanime.me or .to or whatever it is now. I used to use that, but then I ended up getting malware bites. And if you just go onto the site, it's just pop up, pop up, pop up, pop up, pop up, and malware bites gives a little a warning for when anything tries to pop up and gives you a breakdown of what it is, like if it's a Trojan, if it's a malware, if it's just general virus, or if it's a link to a bad site and whatnot. And it's just like you get 20 in a row on it. It's terrible, and like you don't realize that it actually runs when you're not on the site. Like there's pop-ups and stuff like to whatever, like gambling, triple X sites or stuff like that, and it's not really good. So you're better off definitely using like a free site, like, or not free, a premium site like Crunchyroll or whatever. Not that I'm sponsored or anything by them, especially not on 66 subscribers we're on at the moment. So that's not going to happen. But I think Crunchyroll's like $5 a month, in around that, which is pretty good considering like if you have other streaming platforms like Netflix, where it's like $10-12 a month, in around there. But I'm making that assumption based on euros, so more than likely it's in around the same price range. But yeah, so they basically said stream the show legally, so we'll definitely get season 2, and then buy any of the merch that they put out, like through the site or through official means. Like, if I'm not sure if who the producer is, Kadokawa, so if they have their own website or store, buying stuff through there obviously supports them, or through any authorized retailer or e-tailer, I believe, at the new what do you call it, internet, internet, I can't remember what it's called, but e-tailer for like online retailers. I saw something about it today, which looked bloody tacky as all hell. But yeah, or even through legitimate sites like Crunchyroll and stuff, because they tend to run their own kind of gear. I don't know if it's stuff that's provided by the original creators, or if it's licensed material that they pay back to them or whatnot. But if you're like me and you love the show, and I usually like reading manga, but I find it very difficult to go from anime to manga, just because sometimes the art style can be slightly different, and I find it a little bit jarring for me. So like, I love Black Clover, for example, but I know the anime or the manga is supposed to be so much better, but I just can't get back into it. It's very it's probably very similar to the actual anime. I was just trying to read it and get through it, and the pacing is so quick in it that even though the pacing in the anime is stupid quick as well, I just can't get used to it, just to the style. Probably if I read it for a couple hours and just binge through it and got up to the point where I'm fresh with it, I would enjoy it. But I find I just can't get into it, and I can't really enjoy it. But if I started on the manga and then went to the anime, it'd be a lot easier transition, which is a similar situation where I find myself with Rise of the Shield Hero. I was considering reading through the manga, but I couldn't. I was reading a couple of panels, and I was like, oh, it looks so kind of not right. Like, it looks good. Don't get me wrong, it looks great, but I just couldn't get into it. The art style was just off a bit. That I have this picture now for me, Ralphtalia, Filo, Melty, and all the other characters in my head and how they're supposed to look based off the anime. But if you're going back to it, they look slightly different or slightly tweaked, and it just doesn't look as good. And now, since I've heard the characters' voices and stuff, and I understand the personalities, I was excited. I looked for the books and I picked up a couple. So I picked up the first 5. I got these off Amazon. I know you can get them on the US and UK. I'm not sure about the rest of the world. These were translated into English. I'm not sure on the situation for other countries in Europe and whatnot, if they're Spanish translations or if it's just Japanese to English translations. But I decided to pick them up. They're about €10 a pop, and they're available on Amazon Prime, which was handy, which is the main reason I picked them up. But they all come, paperback, which isn't too bad. I would have preferred maybe a slightly tougher book. It feels a tiny bit flimsy, like not in a bad way, but like they could have maybe made a slightly thicker spine and sides, but that's just personal preference. But it still looks good. Ooh, almost dropped it there. Doesn't look too bad. Printed in Canada, so I assume you can buy these in Canada. I assume these might just be only for order rather than retail, just based off of the backs. There's no official. Well, there's the One Piece books on the front, but that's about it. There's no like addresses or anything. I'm gonna pull off the back. There's a bit of information back here actually. Rising Shield Hero, Volume 1, Aniko Usagi, 2013, first published by Katakawa in Japan, English translations rights by One Piece Books, under license of Katakawa Japan. Yeah, so, strange, it was printed in Canada, but One Piece Books is based in New York. That's a strange one. But, yeah, it reads pretty good. I haven't had any issues. I've read the first 30, 40 pages, and I don't have any complaints with it. It reads pretty well. My one concern was the Sama and San and how they basically addressed people. Basically, if you're going to have that translations into English, doesn't seem to be the case. It seems a pretty good translation. I've heard that further on there might be some kind of stuff it's a bit iffy, but like you can easily just read over and you kind of get the gist of it. But from my first 60 pages, I haven't noticed anything out there. There is stuff like otaku and stuff, but I assume there's no appropriate translation because otaku is its own kind of word. Like I know there's words with what it means in English, but it doesn't really make sense if you put it into a sentence, which is like something nerd, but like you just say geek or nerd rather than this specific nerd. So otaku kind of, or maybe it's like really in-depth nerd or almost I'll actually pull up the reference what it means, just so I can be a little bit more clear on the fact. Otaku in Japan, a young person who is obsessed with computers or particular aspects of popular culture to the detriment of social skills. So you can't really label it in English because it's just that thing. So like geek would probably be like the appropriate English translation to an extent, but geek is more, it's broad. I suppose the same with otaku. So I know, but otaku seems to fit a bit better, especially when you're reading a book that's written in Japanese. It makes more sense to go with otaku. So just stuff like that, like the Japanese words that are not going to translate well. So I haven't read anything on it so far because I've gotten through the part where all the heroes met up and they're having the conversation going through like where they're from, this, that, and the other, and none of them brought up the isekai bit yet. So I'm not sure if they realize that what an isekai is, or if in the world is, if isekais are actually a thing. So it's a weird one. I haven't come across it. It might be in it, but yeah. So these will do me for the next while. So these books, I think it's about book 1 goes up to book 5 is in around the basis for book 1 to book 5 is around the chapters for is basically kind of around the chapters for the season 1 of the series, because show you just the cover of book 5, see it there with Lark, Glass, I forget her name, girl with the gems who shoots lightning, but the back, always forget what the back of this is called, but the prologue, no, it's not the prologue, but Naofumi is off to the Kalmyra Islands, where he plans to continue leveling up. Soon after arriving, he meets a mysterious young man named Larkberg. But how will this curious new character impact Naofumi's adventures? Surrounded by mystery and intrigue, Glass makes her second appearance. Aniko Usagi's epic fantasy continues in Volume 5. So they met up, so I'm going to make the assumption that Glass probably comes into it in around probably halfway through, based if I was to guess off some of these pictures here. Yeah, so it looks like they have their showdown around 3:15ish, or maybe towards the end of it. Possibly it could go into book 6. Apparently there's an extra chapter that finishes a couple pages after the book ends. Yeah, that's a strange one. Extra chapter. Specifically called, if I can get the angle right here, extra chapter, the Kalmyra Hot Springs. So who knows what that could be. Okay, it might just be some fan servicey thing, but it looks pretty good. Therese, that's her name. I was thinking it was began with a T. Wasn't sure if it was Therese or like Therese. But it showed like you get designs and stuff at the end of the book with all different characters. So like, there's Lark there. He actually looks a lot. His anime counterpart looks very good. Well done design. But I look forward to reading a lot of these. I've been looking for a good series of books for a while now. I've picked up some. I like fantasy novels, and I haven't found any in a while that have really kind of piqued my interest. The last kind of series I read that kind of like when you just find that book that just clicks with you and you just can't put it down. I have a feeling about this with the series. Also, how I really love the anime that I'll read through the books and eventually get onto the new stuff and then see how that compares with the anime to the books. I think there's about 20 in total, based on Amazon. I'll put a link for where you guys can find them if you want, and also there's an article where the author Aniko Usagi, I believe, or it might be one of the CEOs of Katakawa, talk about the likelihood of season 2 for Rising of Shield Hero. So I'll put those links in the description below. You guys can check it out. But yeah, I'm really it's one of the better series I found that, or at least book series that I found that I can get my teeth into. That I find some books you read and like sometimes people just like they're one of those books that just click for them. I haven't had one of those kind of books in I want to say like 2 or 3 years. 2, because last time I had books like that was like 2017 for Matt Koval's The Ratcatcher series. The first book, Priest, was a bit rough. I'm not sure how many edits he's at with that now. I think I bought it on the 3rd edit or the third draft, but yeah, it was probably about maybe 100 pages too long. He cut out a bit of content, but there was so much to that book that like it added to it. And then when you got into that was Priest, and when you got into Thief was so much better that I was literally in holidays in Portugal just skimming through that book. I think I read both, and each was like 200, 300 pages long in like the space of like 2 or 3 days. So I'm hoping for the same kind of level of commitment for these books. I don't think I'll be able to read 1 or 2 of them in a couple of days though, just with my time, but just with my schedule. But definitely something for the evening, or at nights at least. But yeah, you guys should definitely check them out. Support the official release and buy their official merch and stuff, just so we get another series, because I definitely am. But yeah, sure, we'll end it there. Thanks everyone for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.